Hi, yeah, I just wanted to share because I just watched a video from a guy named David. I don't know how to say his last name. I'm going to mispronounce it, but it's Colombe Pepin. But anyway, in it, he talked about how there's a difference between compassion and tacit approval. And when he brought up tacit approval, it immediately made me think of how that's sort of a tool that you use when you're young and immature in social situations where you perceive it to be advantageous to not ruffle feathers or make waves, um, even when you see something that's sort of out of place, or somebody's just blatantly wrong about something that they said. um, you kind of just you learn to nod and smile, and in a way, in the back of your mind, you might be thinking like, "Oh, this person obviously has these weaknesses if they're able to say this thing." So, um, in this like young person social game that people play, uh, that can be considered like a um, an advantage that you can use to your benefit. So why would you call anybody out on their bullshit? Because you know that as long as they're still running those bullshit programs, you might have an opportunity to look better than them. Maybe they'll say that stupid wrong thing in front of the girl that you have a crush on, and uh, then you'll come out looking relatively better. So tacit approval, uh, yes, to a certain extent, it's a learned behavior. You learn depending on how strict your parents are or your teachers or whatever to not they call it speak up or act up. I guess is the word I'm looking for. And what uh, what I mean by that is like you are supposed to respect the authority of your parent or teacher, and even when they say something that doesn't jive with you on a personal level, or you just can see that it's objectively wrong, you're nonetheless supposed to um, sort of keep your mouth shut. And so that's actually encouraged in a lot of young people, or at least it was when I was growing up. And it's labeled as being polite, or have it's a social skill that you're supposed to learn. um, but when you look at it, it's a passive aggressive mechanism, tool, weapon to hold people in their place, while hoping that down the line you might benefit from um, the self limitation that your tacit approval of their bullshit is, or wrong statement, or misguidedness is holding them into. So I just thought that was a cool point that David brought up, and I wanted to talk about it and say that um, maybe take if you're the sort of person who does the party circuit, or hangs out with people who aren't necessarily forthcoming in everything they do. Maybe take a look at what's really going on within your own mind when a point like this comes up and somebody says something, and you just kind of nod and smile, or pretend you didn't hear it, or even maybe agree, and but in sort of a diffused way, like, oh yeah, 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 just nodding and sort of encouraging them to keep talking, but not calling them out. So I'd encourage people to take a look at what's going on within yourself in these moments, um, because it could be like maybe you don't really care about this person in front of you, and you know that what they're saying is not true, or is reflective of some internal hang up that they have. And so maybe if you asked yourself why, obviously you have the negative reaction to what they're saying, so why wouldn't you then um, you know bring this to their attention? Something to think about. um, and then to bring it back to David's original video point, which was how tacit approval differs from compassion. um, that's that's where, if some situation like this comes up and somebody says something that is false or misguided, um, you would say something to them. You even in the situation where you might risk creating uh, friction or conflict, or that it might cause a reaction in the other person. It's important to understand that might be part of the healing process that they need to go through to get over whatever it was that brought them to say that thing in the first place. So, um, it's often said that change isn't comfortable. So, if you care about a person and you are in a position of seeing that they are doing something that is out of line, um, you would say something to them, and if they get uncomfortable, you within yourself know why what they said was wrong. So as long as you can remain sort of stable and balanced, and calm within the situation, no matter what their reaction is, you're still going to have within your head what it is that's wrong about what they said. And if you can remain calm until they get through their reaction of freaking out, or then you wait, you take a breath, and then you explain it to them. Or best case scenario is they say, "Hey, you know what? I appreciate you saying that. I hadn't considered your perspective on this issue." Then it just goes over easily, and they learn from the situation, and you look like a good person, and uh, they grow, and maybe next time around they have something more useful or interesting or insightful uh, to say, and you get more out of the conversation. But regardless, compassion comes from a place of selflessness. So the by speaking by speaking out and calling people out on these things, uh, the most direct and immediate benefit is going to be to them, assuming that you can hold the line and get the point across, regardless of uh, you know what their reaction might be. So, thanks for listening. Hope I brought up some interesting points, some things to consider. Please leave a comment if you have anything to add to this discussion, and stay safe out there, people.